So let's describe the basic process. First, I was able to find a garden shed for $1,300. It was a closeout model at Lowe's. Actually, Heartland Sheds. They're the ones that are the sales guys to Lowe's. Well, I guess these are not that rare because every year models change or inventory gets turned over. And since buying my first shed, I've been able to purchase 3 others for even less money from the same sales vendor. The only tricky thing is that I had to move the shed myself. We'll get into that in just a little bit. You might also find a good used shed in your local classifieds or Craigslist.org. Just make sure that the structure is not rotten or termite eaten. Now, bad structure won't allow you to move the shed, which is something that you'll need to do. To move my sheds from Lowe's to my home, it was very easy with the first one. Now, the guys at Lowe's simply lifted each side with forklifts, and I backed up my trailer underneath. For my other sheds, I had to use a little more creativity. I used a jack and cinder blocks in the Lowe's parking lot. It was quite humorous, actually. I was careful to bolt the shed to my flatbed trailer, and, by the way, the trailer needs to be a very solid construction little deal. I've purchased 3 different flatbed trailers now, and each one has heavy-duty dual axles. Each trailer was under $800. I purchased them used on Craigslist and a local online classified ad site. You can probably find the same thing in your area. Unless you live in downtown New York City, then you may have to go out into the countryside just a little bit. Now, I took my mobile sheds home to work on them. That kind of thing may not be allowed in every neighborhood, especially fancy suburbs with restrictive homeowners associations. I don't have one of those, thankfully. The first thing that we did, we being me and my wife, is we drew out an effective floor plan for our 10 by 12 space. It included a sleeping loft and a closed-in bathroom space. Next, I used Great Stuff expanding foam sealer to fill all the cracks. After that, I installed a few electrical wires to give us lights in the kitchen area, the main overhead loft, and also in the bathroom. I used simple electrical cords that I threaded through the drilled studs. The cords plugged into the electrical box, which is simply a GFCI protected quad outlet. I installed the pull chain lights much later in the process, but I needed the wires inside the walls before my insulation and paneling went on. My interior electric is simple, and it runs on a Honda 2000 generator that I bring with me whenever I visit. For insulation, I simply used R13 fiberglass rolls in the walls and ceilings, and I should have done the floors as well when I had access. I kept the barn doors instead of installing a regular front door, but I did insulate with 1-inch rigid styrofoam on the inside, and then I paneled over that. I paneled the lower walls in my shed with cedar fencing. I like the rustic look, and cedar, hey, it just has a great smell. The upper walls and ceiling I did with 4x8 wood grain paneling. I used more of that cedar fencing to create some shelving and for some trim work around doorways and baseboards. The lighting and hardware items like paper towel holders, utensil racks, and that kind of stuff, it came from Home Depot and IKEA. Now, IKEA has a lot of great furniture and organization items for small spaces. For plumbing, we simply use water jugs and wet wipes. Now, the toilet is a luggable loo 5-gallon bucket with a toilet seat on top. You've seen them, and they're very effective. Now, I've seen some really cool but expensive composting toilets and some pressurized water pump systems, but we wanted our bathroom and kitchen to be very simple and cheap and trouble-free. Now, our tiny house is a part-time recreational dwelling, and we didn't want any stagnant water sitting in pipes or freezing over the winter or that kind of stuff. I've got a lot more detail about all these decisions in my Amazon book. And again, it's Home Sweet Tiny House by D.A. Larson. And you can read this Kindle book on almost any electronic device. iPad, smartphone, Kindle reader, generic tablet, whatever. The paperback is $12.99 and the ebook is under $3. That is, unless you have Amazon Kindle Unlimited, and then it's free. I purchased the perfect piece of land for my cabin. It's about 90 minutes from my home, and it's in a county that will allow for, or at least overlook, off-grid bunkhouses and hunters' cabins. I've got great views from my bluff and my very own stream with a beach. My land cost me $15,000, but I could have purchased something for $5,000. Certainly half the price if I didn't want the stream and the nice views and good road access all year round. Now, I tried to use a real estate agent to find some land, but I ended up needing to be much more creative. I found several great pieces of property that fit my needs, and 2 of them I will use for my next 2 cabin projects. More about finding the perfect property in the book. Now, once I had finished the interior of my cabin, I let my wife decorate with some furnishings, dishes, towels, bedding, stuff like that. Then I rented a powerful 3/4-ton Chevy diesel truck and I hauled my cabin up to my land. I should also mention that I did rent a mini excavator for a couple days to make some good access and some level spots on my property for better use. I even installed a few stone fire pits from rocks that were already on the property. You know, as long as I had that mini excavator with that thumb, it was just so much easier to pick up and move rocks and things. I'm not very experienced on a tractor, to be honest, but I figured it out. That's what YouTube is for, right? Now, many people have asked me, and I've actually asked myself several times, am I glad that I spent the time and money on a tiny house project instead of just buying a motorhome or a timeshare? I say absolutely. I'm glad we did what we did. We still take other vacations, but our mini cabin is a great home away from home that we visit often. And there's a great feeling of, hey, we did that. It was a family project, and we're already working on the next one. As an investment of money and time, I believe that we've created something of much greater value. According to some neighbors in that area and a real estate agent, we could easily sell it for double what we have invested. Now, we're not interested in that right now. Right now, it's our own private getaway spot. Now, you can create your own tiny house, mini cabin, artist retreat, whatever you want, quickly and inexpensively. This book is your roadmap, including step-by-step instructions, and I even include at the end a checklist to follow. Not only will you have some great tips and shortcuts, you will also discover some great resources that I have found for you to get cheap and even free building materials. You can also cut your project time by 50 to 70% by starting with a tiny house shell, a garden shed, that can be easily obtained at discount pricing from local sales reps. I will show you how.